destination.
It's the only show in the Queen City that shines the spotlight on all our high school sports in the area. I'm Jeff Taylor.
And I'm Jack Taylor, and over the next few minutes, we'll look back at some of that action that took place on the football field, the volleyball courts, and all around, and get you ready for all of tonight's action on the gridiron.
Absolutely. We'll also head to Sun Valley and introduce you to one of the best running backs in our area in our weekly Varsity Spotlight feature athlete. But before we get to that, let's look back at some of the highlights from last Friday night. Jack.
Yeah, we begin with a look back at one of the really big games around the area as the conference competition kicked off and continued for a lot of people. You see Olympic taking over A.L. Brown. Olympic in this new conference wanting to make a statement, and they do so on special teams. Huge kickoff return all the way down for a touchdown. They would win 24-21, getting a big win over Kannapolis. This is going to be a really interesting conference to see. There's really no true number one in it. You see there's also in the conference Harding up against West Cabarrus. Harding struggling to get anything going both in non-conference and in regular. They lose 17-6 to West Cabarrus. West Cabarrus on a roll early on. We continue in this conference to see some other big games here. Hickory Ridge, you're going to see right next after this, getting a big win over Berry. Berry still trying to get just their first win in the season. Hickory Ridge getting that 17-0 shutout. Even in high school football, it's still hard to shut out teams, especially when you're able to do so on offense and defense. It's a really big win for them. Now, let's head on down to Union County. We're going to see the Monroe Redhawks, who really struggled to start off this season hot with a really tough non-conference schedule at home against Parkwood in conference play, and they're starting to look like their state championship defending selves, getting a 40-7 victory over Parkwood. They're going to try to continue that momentum as they go on through conference competition as they go on this season. Now, we're going to have another big game here, the Battle of the Mechs. You got South Mech coming up here against West Mech. Interestingly enough, this game at Ballantyne Ridge. South Mech can't play at home, so they're hosting at Ballantyne Ridge. They lost their first game to Charlotte Catholic and since then have won every game all on the road. That's going to be how it is the entire season. They win 45-20, a really big win for South Mech against West Mech. Now, one of the biggest games of the week, Mount Pleasant hosting Forest Hills. We talked about that conference competition. Forest Hills was undefeated up until this point. Mount Pleasant had an up and down schedule thus far. They win 21-14. That was one of the big upsets of the week as Forest Hills stopped in their track at home, mind you. That's even tougher to do, to stop a team winning from losing, from getting their first loss, and to do it at home. That's huge. All right, that was all the action.
Absolutely. All right, hey, let's think about our NIL now. This week, our NIL Spotlight, we take a look at the Mooresville Blue Devils, who have been dominant on both sides of the ball all season long. This week, we focus solely on the offense and the next level connection between Temple commit Brody Norman and App State commit Gavin Barber. This QB tight end duo has been a terror all season long, and there's a very good chance you see this showcase in the Shrine Bowl as well, coming up on December 20th down in Spartanburg.
Yeah, the Mountaineers got a big tight end weapon coming. Yep. You can see he's got the sticker on his helmet there.
Already.
Yeah,
Can you do that?
Yeah, that's something that high schools have done now for the last few years. For the commits, they either, they have the gear like maybe on the shoulder, on the waist,
I
but
see,
they
I got
also
the A, there we go.
started to do stickers on the helmet. Really cool. All right. Now, let's turn our attention to Week 8 as conference play continues to heat up and teams start to solidify their place in the standings, making their push to the playoffs. Let's preview some of those matchups now in this.
Yep, we're going to start and get you ready with our WCCB Game of the Week that kicks off in just a few minutes over on MeTV. It's the Battle of the Ridges. Porter Ridge travels to Marvin Ridge. It's a Southern Carolina 6A, 7A conference matchup. Right now, everyone in that conference chasing, no surprise, Weddington, who is undefeated in conference play. Porter Ridge, they bring a 2-1 conference record into tonight's game. That's good enough for the second in the standings. They had no problem last Friday night as they took care of business against Piedmont, winning that one 41-6. As for the Mavericks of Marvin Ridge, they're hurting. They come into tonight's game with a 1-1 record in the conference. That's fourth overall, and they look to bounce back from their tough loss against the leader, Weddington, last Friday night. 47-0. Not good last Friday night. Maybe they'll turn it around tonight against Porter Ridge.
Yeah, it's always been a race for second, and now when you bring Catholic into the mix, they're 1-1 as well, but Catholic got that overtime win against Porter Ridge, so that's going to be huge. Yeah, that's going to be huge going into it. Well, we're just a little under half an hour away from kickoff of Week 8 for the high school football in the Queen City and surrounding areas. We already showed you just our WCCB Game of the Week. Now let's take a look at some of the others that are going to show up. First up, Ballantyne Ridge traveling south to take on Palisades. The Pumas are currently second in the Southwestern 7A, 8A conference. Providence holds the top spot. They had the bye this week. Palisades coming off that big win last Friday night on the road at Audrey Kell. And the Wolves are back in action after a bye last week, so both teams really need to get going.
All right, yep, in the MEC Power 6 Conference, Butler travels to North MEC. The Bulldogs and head coach Brian Hales looking to get above 500 on the season. They are second in the conference. North MEC looking for their first conference win. They're also 500 on the year.
And then staying in the MEC Power 6, we're going to take a look after we talk about this North MEC team and how dominant they can be on defense if they get their right foot ahead at the beginning of the game. Yeah, it absolutely is. But in the MEC Power 6, which is the toughest conference around, Chambers is going to travel to Independence. The Patriots coming off of last week's tough loss at the hands of West Charlotte, while Chambers is coming off a bye, looking to bounce back from a brutal 3-game losing streak to round out their non-conference competition. Chambers, Captain Munderland, really need to win there, but that's a tough place to do it.
Yeah, you're going in there, it's going to be tough. All right, Lake Norman started strong in conference play. South Iredell, not so much. The Wildcats will look to build upon that momentum, while the Vikings just want to right the ship and get going.
Yeah, I mean, you're going up against Mooresville, so that's already going to be a tough competition, but Mooresville to Lake Norman back-to-back, really tough.
Absolutely.
The Big South Conference continues to get more and more interesting as the season rolls on. 3 teams sit in a 3-way tie. This week, undefeated Ashbrook hosts Kings Mountain. Yep. They sit at the top based solely off of points scored, and Hunter Huss is taking on Crest. That'll be a huge game as well, as Crest is really sitting in that mix as well. As we come back to talking about it, there's a couple other big games we're not showing you here. Cannon at Latin.
Yep.
That'll be a big one.
Charlotte Christian having to go down to Raven Gap.
Always
we know what Raven Gap is all about.
Yeah, we talked about Weddington. They're going to be at Cuthbertson.
Could that be an interesting? Nah.
Look, don't ever count Cuthbertson out. They've got a really good team, and Duke Howell is a really good head coach, but it's going to be hard. Now, the other one to look at, Sun Valley at Catholic.
That's a good matchup.
It's going to really round out that top 3, top 4 to really see how they're going to mix.
Yeah,
another big game.
Lincolnton at Shelby.
Yeah, Lincolnton at Shelby. Shelby's been firing at all cylinders. Indian Land is still undefeated. They got a big win last week. Now they got to go to
We don't talk about them a whole lot.
Ridge.
They've come out of nowhere.
They have. Last year, they were in the mix, not really close to the playoffs. This year, they've just exploded on both sides of the ball. And then Rock Hill at Nation Ford, a couple of rookie head coaches in Bulware and in Jake Bentley. So really big. And then the rivalry, Fort Mill at Northwestern. Hasn't been a rivalry as of late.
No.
But maybe it'll be a good game.
Anytime you play a rivalry game, who knows?
Absolutely.
All right, coming up next on Varsity Spotlight, we'll head to Sun Valley and check in on a running back who's making a name for himself every Friday night on the football field. More Varsity Spotlight coming at you next.
Welcome back to Varsity Spotlight. Every week we take time to introduce you to high school athletes that are excelling in sports, the classroom, and the community.
A lot of great stories out there, and today we introduce you to Zach Cullen, a young man who plays running back at Sun Valley High School and has established himself as one of the best in the Queen City. Take a look.
Zach Cullen, I'm a senior at Sun Valley High School. First sport I kind of got into was golf because my parents were scared about contact. My dad played football and the injury aspect, but at 5 years old I kind of knew it's what I wanted to do, so that's what I went with and that's what I pursued.
Funny enough, we didn't even want Zach to play football or contact sports. I played and I had a lot of injuries, so I put a golf club in his hand when he was like 2 years old. And at 5, he came up and said, "Dad, I want to play football like you did." And my wife and I agreed that if that's the case, I was going to coach.
My dad coached me from 5th grade all the way up to 8th grade. You know, he always kind of stuck by my side. You know, he was super hard on me, which is what made me into the great player I am. And he really just kind of set the whole milestone kind of just for what was to come.
He's always been the most competitive kid I've ever known. In 4th grade here at Sun Valley, he got a 60-yard run and got pushed out of bounds. And we were all pumped up, and he threw the ball down. He was mad. And I'm like, "What's wrong? You just had a great long run." And he's like, "I didn't score." Like, that's how competitive. 4th grade, 8 years old, that's what he's doing. Really, COVID was what changed everything for him, I think. When he got stuck inside, quarantined, he asked us to buy him a weight bench, and that changed everything. He just wanted to be the best. He just works just tirelessly more than anybody else, and that on top of his gifts that he has makes him who he is.
When I first met Zach, he was an 8th grader that were coming over to lift after school. Kind of just stood out for him when I met him for the first time. His just natural strength and, change of direction, speed and agility and whatnot. We kind of knew as coaches he could be a special player, not only on the offensive side as a running back, but on defense as a linebacker too. And now he even punts for us and gives us a little bit different element in special teams as well. Zach started as a freshman for us. Didn't get as many carries as he probably wanted. I know he was frustrated a little bit with it, and it would have been easy for him to just play JV that year and be the guy, but he really grew up in a hurry. He was behind a senior that year. That guy got banged up a little bit, so he became our starter a little bit for a few games in the mix. Even as a freshman, did a really good job of finding contact. Doesn't like to really run around people. He likes to run through people. So I got a lot of him getting, into the defense and really lowering his shoulder and finding those tough yards, which is hard to teach. You can't really teach that, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I like to crash into people, yeah.
I think Zach's one of those guys that people gravitate towards. It's more of not necessarily a vocal leader, but it's leading by example. He's one of our top 3 guys in every aspect: classroom, weight room, practice habits. All of it is top 3 for him, if not top 1. Those kind of things really translate and help the program out, because when the young guys see him, they see how hard he works outside the game field, and that really makes a difference for programs.
He's so committed. It's been very easy as a father because I don't have to push him. He practices 4 to 5 days a week, has a game on Fridays, and he does speed training twice a week. It's just to watch him is a gift as a dad, because you just know he's so self-driven.
My work ethic really just comes from my parents. They've always just wanted me to be the best I can, no matter what, and do the best that I can. So I kind of think that just plays into every single role in my life, with working hard and getting what you put in.
Yeah, going into next year, I'm just excited to see, what the future holds for him. I know that he already holds an offer from UNC Pembroke. I'm positive there's going to be more to come. He's going to make a program better wherever he goes, whatever side of the ball he ends up on. The sky's the limit for this guy.
What makes me most proud about Zachary is just who he is as a human being. Every teacher, every guidance counselor, every coach has told us that he's just such a good person. It just makes you super proud, and he's just a great son.
If I would say anything to my parents, it's just thank you. Honestly, it's just they've helped me so much. They've supported me. They've been by my side no matter what, no matter if it was hard, easy, no matter. They were just always there. They are loving, supportive, and the best parents I could ever ask for.
Zachary, Mom and I are so proud of you. You know that. I tell you every day, I tell everybody that has ears near me that I'm proud of you. Keep being such a great person and a great human being. You're gonna do amazing things in life with whatever you choose to do, and you know me and Mom got your back. We love you.
My name is Zach Cullen, and this is my Varsity Spotlight.
what a great story.
Yeah.
And three things that come to mind. Number one, when you see a dad like that size get emotional.
Yeah.
You know what his son means to him, and that's awesome. Number two, talking about buying the weight bench on his own.
Yeah.
During COVID.
That's wild.
When gyms were shut down and weight rooms, and it was that crazy season when they played in the spring. But to see a young man do that and buy his own weight set is crazy. And then number three, the coach, talked about him. He said, what makes, Zach so special is the three things, classroom leadership, the weight room leadership, and on the field leadership. And he talked more about the actions than the words.
No, absolutely. But then you got to also mention the actions too, because Sun Valley is a real smash mouth football team. So to have a guy like him, and it really feeds into the program they put together, he can run people over, and especially in that conference. I mean, we talk about it. You're playing up against Weddington, Marvin Ridge, Porter Ridge every year, and now adding Catholic into the mix. It's iron sharpening iron, and that's nothing that really sharpens you more than that kind of work ethic. So you can tell and see it in his demeanor that it really has paid off, and it should pay off into the next level. Like he said, anybody who gets him in the next level is going to have a playmaker.
He said he likes to hit people.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's playing the right spot. Well,
yeah.
Linebacker too. All right, hey, listen, if you have a story like Zach's, or you know somebody who does, make sure you reach out to us at wccbcharlotte.com or hit Jack or myself up on our social media.
Mm-hmm. All right, now coming up next, we're going to take you around the Queen City and surrounding areas and check in on some of the action that took place over the last few days on the volleyball courts. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Varsity Spotlight. I'm Jack Taylor. Now, much like football, our volleyball teams around the area are in conference play. They're rounding out, looking to end the latter part of their season with some momentum as they head to the conference tournaments. So, Jeff, what do you got for us?
Yeah, we're going to start with a Greater Metro 6A, 7A conference matchup between Hickory Ridge and A.L. Brown. Both teams chasing Coxville for the top spot in this conference. This match would go to Hickory Ridge as they won in 3 straight sets, a sweep. The first 2 sets were close, but Hickory Ridge would finish with a strong 25-9 win in the 3rd set. Hickory Ridge solidifies themselves as the 2nd place team in the conference, while A.L. Brown would drop to 3rd. We'll have more from Hickory Ridge, however, in just a few minutes.
All right, next up, J.M. Robinson making the trip onto the Spiderweb out in Concord. This was a South Piedmont 4A, 5A conference matchup as both teams in the middle of the standings are trying to solidify their spot in the tournament. The visitors, J.M. Robinson, would come out strong and win the first 2 sets, and they look like they would sweep Concord, but the Spiders say not so fast. They come back and win the next 2 sets. It went to set 5 for the tiebreaker. J.M. Robinson got that one 15-5, winning 3-2.
All right, on we go. Mooresville taking on North Iredell, and this was for the top spot in the North Piedmont 6A, 7A conference. North Iredell would win the first set 28-26. After that, Mooresville would take control, and they would win the next 3 sets to win this match, 3-1. Mooresville with a stellar 7-2 conference record, while North Iredell sits at 6-2. Both teams just have 1 game left in conference play.
All right, now on we go with the rare non-conference matchup this late in the year with Butler and Myers Park. The Mustangs came out of the gate quick, getting that first win. After that, it was all Butler all day long, getting the next 3 sets, winning this one 3-1. Butler sitting at 16-5 for the season. They're making a push to that state playoff appearance. Myers Park is 12-6. They also got a good shot of playing in the postseason.
All right, on we go. Another non-conference matchup for you. Independence took on West Meck, and this was all Patriots. Indy would jump out to a quick 2-0 lead, and they would show no mercy. They would not slow down in the third set. Independence brings out the broom, gets the sweep over West Meck. The Patriots 11-5 for the season. They're setting their sights on the postseason. West Meck, however, not so good. They sit at 3-17 on the season.
All right, one final match for you. We started the segments showing you some Raging Bull highlights. They were sweeping A.L. Brown. A few matches later, Hickory Ridge took on Weddington in a non-conference matchup, and this one, not the same outcome. The Warriors getting all 3 sets, the sweep, ending the regular season with a 16-4 record, while Hickory Ridge has 1 more game to go to wrap up their regular season. All sides push into conference play a little bit later. We'll show you how some of these conferences are standing as they go into conference play. But as we do every Friday, it's time to announce our Play of the Week winner from last Friday night's action. Most players will tell you if they don't score, they don't really care, but that's not always the case. All right, this Monday we showed you 3 plays. This was the winner. Palisades on the road to Audrey-Kell. Lincoln Wise getting the pass in the backfield, turning the short play into a highlight. He refuses to go down, bulldozing defenders for the big gain. Wise and Palisades would go on to get the win over the Knights in a big win for Palisades. Revenge game after last year, and it really all started with the momentum built here in that one.
I was at that game, and you could actually hear some of the contact that went there.
Absolutely.
So it was kind of crazy. All right, we'll have 3 more plays for you to vote on next Monday morning starting at noon on our website, WCCB Charlotte. And we'll have more right after the break. Stick around. And welcome back to Varsity Spotlight, everyone. You know, the football season, when we talk high school, still has a few weeks left before we even get to the postseason. We can talk about that a little bit later. But one sport that's kind of coming to a close, volleyball.
Absolutely.
There are conferences that are playing their tournaments, and then postseason, I think for the state, starts October 18th when everybody starts going for that state title. But I know we have some of the standings here.
Absolutely. We're starting with the Southern Carolina Conference. We talk about Marvin Ridge. They've been on fire all regular season.
That might be the best.
Yeah.
That might be the best team in the state.
It is one of them. Now, keep in mind, this is the standings as it sat before the conference tournament started.
Right.
So Marvin Ridge, 10-0 in conference play, 12-game winning streak.
That's
right.
Wow.
In the whole thing. Weddington, an impressive 9-3, but when you have Marvin Ridge
10-0.
right above you, you're going to be number 2. And
Right.
they went on a 4-game winning streak. They had a middle of the pack, in the season. So then you got Sun Valley coming in at 7-3, just behind them, 3 wins. And then you have Cuthbertson only 1 game behind, and they're 6-4.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The thing you have about this, though, and then you see Piedmont, they're sitting at 5th, and they're 3-8.
Keep an eye on that.
Absolutely. All right, moving on now. We've got some more conferences for you. We take a look at the Catawba Shores Conference, one of the other best teams in the area.
Absolutely.
Lincoln Charter, 1 loss, a big blip in their schedule, but a 15-game winning streak. Outside of that, that's non-conference and in conference.
Wow.
So
12-1 in the conference then.
Yeah, 12-1 in the conference.
Okay.
Davidson with an 11-2 record. 11-2 in the conference, but they're still number 2, right?
Right.
And then Pine Lake, 10-2. They're only a half game behind, but they're still sitting at 3rd off
that
of a
one's
2-win
wide
streak.
open.
Yeah, absolutely. Bradford at Prep, they're at 500, 7-7 in the conference, and then Christ the King rounding it out at 5-8. On we go now to some private school action. Latin really taking the private school area by storm, 8-1 with a 4-game winning streak.
Right.
Country Day had a 6-0 record in conference play.
Wow.
Then lose 3
3 in a row?
straight. Yep. So they're
Because they would have been right there with Latin.
Absolutely, but they're still at 2nd. Thankfully, with Providence being 5-4, you see Charlotte Christian Covenant Day. Moving on, we've got some more conferences for you. This is the Big South Conference. Kings Mountain, a perfect 10-0 in conference play. South Point right behind at 9-2. Crest 7-3. Forest View, and then Ashbrook as well.
Yeah, those top 2.
Yeah, it could be
19
anyone.
games?
19 wins.
Wow.
Yeah, 19 winning regular plays. All right, now the last one for you. We've got the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Audrey Kell, a perfect 9-0. 3-win streak. East Meck right behind them at 7-2. We talked about East Meck volleyball a little earlier in the Varsity Spotlight, right?
Right.
Palisades at 4-4. Providence at 4-5. Valentine Ridge rolling out at 2-7. Should make for some interesting conference tournaments and then the playoffs as well. It'll be the first 8A, right? 8 state tournaments.
Which we'll see how it goes.
Absolutely.
Are they using volleyball as an experiment?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to have to be, right? It's the first
Right.
postseason, but they've already got it set in stone. So they made their bed. Now they're going to have to lie in it and see what happens.
Yeah, and I think, Audrey Kell, I interviewed their coach a couple of years ago, and just awesome.
Absolutely. Should be
Yep.
a pretty big conference tournament schedule and then postseason schedule
All
as
right.
well.
Cool. Well, that is it for this week's Varsity Spotlight. Stay tuned for our WCCB Sports Game of the Week between Porter Ridge and Marvin Ridge. It's the Battle of the Ridges. That kicks off in just a few minutes over on MeTV. Pick a winner.
I would say Porter Ridge.
Yeah, so would I.
Yeah.
Coach Hurt's over there doing some great things.
Absolutely. Now, right after that, stay with us, WCCB, as we bring you all the scores and highlights from Week 8 on the Blitz right here. We'll see you then.
Enjoy